Hey, how y'all doing? This is your girl Tashin. How you feeling? I hope you're doing great. Yes, winter is almost here. We're still in fall, so yeah. But winter is coming. Winter is coming. But it hasn't been that cold to me. I don't know. For the past couple of years, I just don't find it to be that cold. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. The weather changed to me a lot over the years. It hasn't been that cold to me. I remember years ago. When I mean years ago, I'm talking about maybe 10, maybe more than that years ago, when it to be so cold. I remember I used to have to wear tights under my pants. Do y'all, any of y'all remember that? If you're from, I guess, from New York or whatever, or any other states like Jersey, like the East Coast, where it used to be so cold. I remember we used to have to wear tights. I remember we used to have to wrap our neck so many times with scarf. We had to have a hat, gloves. I couldn't tell the last time I had to wear gloves. I don't remember I haven't been wearing my gloves in years. Even scarves. I don't even wear scarves anymore. And I don't wear tights under my pants anymore. That's to show you that it's been cold. Don't get me wrong. It has its days. It does get cold, but it's not cold enough to the point where you have to be bungled up. You had to wear 2 shirts, a sweater, 2 shirts, a long sleeve shirt, a sweater, and a coat. I remember I used to wear like 5 layers of clothing just to stay warm, and I don't do that anymore. So I don't know. To me, I feel like the weather definitely had changed over the years. But anyway, this is the 5 U.S. states with way colder winters than Britain. What? We gotta watch this.
Than Scotland's average. Scotland being the coldest country in the United Kingdom, and these are averages. This
makes sense
mental.
Because it makes sense because they all the way up north. So
hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those pertains to the weather, specifically the temperature, especially at this time of year when it's bloody cold here in America. And of course, I've talked about this a lot on this channel. It is freezing in the United States, specifically in the northern portion of it at this time of year. But growing up in England, I had my doubts about that.
What year this came out?
I watched a lot of American television.
I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta find out what year this came out. This video came out 3 years ago. So, I don't know. Even 3 years ago, I don't know. It wasn't that cold to me.
And assumed that everywhere was palm trees and beaches and thought, yes, I want to move there at some point in my life. This place, England, is freezing. Well, let's take a look at the facts on that because it's not strictly true. Now, granted, of course, there are times when Britain really does get down to the point of freezing. It's not a particularly common occurrence. It will happen now and again. Indeed, if you were to look at the statistics on this, if you were to look at the data from 1981 to 2010, as I did, you'll find that during the months of December, January, February and March, which we sort of consider winter quite loosely in terms of this, that in terms of its average low temperatures did average about freezing exactly, so 0 degrees C or 33 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's Scotland. That's the coldest country in Britain. What about my homeland of England? Well, in that very same time, by the very same metric, England sort of averaged around about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, and that of course is about 1.5 Celsius above freezing. So that's the low average, right? That's not the average, and it's not the high average. So on the whole, you're not really expecting to see Britain reach the point of freezing or even go beyond it. That doesn't mean it doesn't go beyond it or beneath it at any point. Of course, it has in history. The lowest recorded temperature in history happened in Scotland. No surprise there. No surprise indeed that it happened in Aberdeenshire in Scotland, and the temperature got down to minus 17 degrees Fahrenheit, or that's minus 27 degrees Celsius. That to us is cold. I think that is to people here is quite cold. Similarly, the coldest temperature in English history was minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, completely unfit for humans. Nobody should be walking around in that. But, I've come to find since moving here, and this is a warning, by the way, to any British people that are also thinking of moving to the northern portion of the United States, it gets way colder than it does in Britain. Now, a bit of backstory for those of you that don't know. I left the United Kingdom about 11 years ago and moved to America's Midwest, specifically to a state called Indiana. Indiana is pretty cold. It's certainly colder on average during winter
because
than
you're
Great
pretty
Britain.
much on the
but it doesn't even come
East
close
Coast.
to rivaling the 5 states that we have on this list today, which, to be fair,
East
are not
Coast,
even fit
up
for
north.
tardigrades. And the same goes for Chicago too. This place gets even colder than Indianapolis. Astronomical. You may have seen my video last year during the polar vortex.
Of course.
To death. I didn't. That's a lie. I was inside. I spoke a moment ago about the astronomically low temperature set in Scotland of 17 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, hold on to your hats, because the lowest ever recorded in Chicago was at O'Hare Airport, and it was minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 33 degrees Celsius below zero. That's why I've got this coat. You know, I shouldn't really be wearing it inside. This is a studio, but you suffer for your art. And so this video is really for two types of people, I suppose. It's for people from Britain, like me, that are thinking of moving over to the northern United States. And it's also for people that live in colder places than Chicago and just want to gloat after all these years of me talking about how bad it is here. I think it's hell. I can't imagine living where you do. I'm going to have to, because without further ado, here are 5 states with way colder winters than Britain. So I can tell you from experience that Wisconsin is bloody freezing, and we went there for our anniversary, which just happens to be Valentine's Day. Don't ask. And of course, Valentine's Day is during one of the coldest periods in the year in general. So going up to Milwaukee at that time of year, not the best idea. We'd never been, so we just wanted to check it out for the first time, and we're glad we did. But we've been advised to go again in the summer to get the real experience, because it's just that freezing. I mean, looking at those same metrics that we looked at for Scotland earlier on during that 1981 to 2010 period, when you're talking about average lows and you add up the 5 most populous cities in Wisconsin and then take the average of that, you're looking at about 18.7 degrees Fahrenheit. That's minus 7.4 degrees C. Now, the staggering thing about that is that the most populous cities in Wisconsin are kind of more geared toward the south of the state rather than the north, where it's even colder. So the entire state average would be colder even than that. Now, it was quite hard to get a lot of the sort of just statewide averages in general. So for this very video, what I've done is taken the 5 most populous cities in the states in question and taken that same average. Nonetheless, people far smarter than me figured out that these 5 are the 5 coldest states in total. And Wisconsin, like some of the other states on this list, suffers the cold air from Canada. And because of that, you get state records like minus 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just awful. If you went out in that temperature, I'm fairly certain your head would would fall off.
That's why
that was in 1996. So
that's why I can't live in them type of places. Too cold. It's too cold. Look how close they are. Look how close they are to Canada.
That. So if you do, let me know in the comments down below if you lived in Sawyer County 24 years ago and how you kept your head on. Statistically, Wisconsin does have the 5th coldest winter.
But it's so crazy because I'm in New York and we're close to Canada, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my blood got warmer over the years. But like I said, if you're from New York, I don't know like I said, it does get cold, but I have yet to wear 2 pants and a whole bunch of shirts, and I couldn't tell the last time I wore gloves. So yeah.
Winters
and my hands
in
get
the entire
cold
nation. And I'm glad it did, because I wasn't able to include it on my list of snowiest states, much to the chagrin of people that live in Wisconsin. The same can't be said of our next entry.
What's that?
You've got to hand it to the state of Maine, one of the snowiest places in the United States and one of the coldest. It made the top 5 in both lists, and it just happens that I've been there twice. One for each weather type, I suppose, although I should say I have.
It's so crazy. I've never been to Maine. I never been there because I don't know what's out. I don't know what's out there. I don't have family or friends out there, so I never been to Maine. Never in my life. I don't know what's out there.
Being there in winter, but just how cold can it get? Well, its average low temperatures just about beat Wisconsin. Once again, as with all of the states on this list, I did take the most populous cities in the state of Maine, just because those are the places that British people or any people are more likely to move to within that state. Again, if you want an idea of what hell sounds like, then just imagine that these are actually wild underestimates for the entire state. And in the case of Maine, its 5 most populous cities cities averaged a low temperature of about 17.6 degrees Fahrenheit during the winter months. -8 degrees C. Now we're getting somewhere pretty treacherous. These are averages, all right? These aren't extremes. And that's just in the likes of Portland, Augusta, Bangor, right? If you were to move far upstate, then your head, at the very least, would start to wobble or just freeze still. But funnily enough, while the average winter temperatures in Maine just about beat Wisconsin, its lowest all-time recorded temperature did not. In fact, Aroostook County yielded a very pathetic -50 degrees Fahrenheit.
What?
That's -45.6 degrees C for anybody who's keeping count on their shivering hand.
Damn.
But the next one, as is customary with these types of lists, blows that record completely out of the ice. It may not surprise you to learn that the state of Minnesota has a particularly high concentration of Scandinavian ancestry.
What did I just say?
And that's Scandinavian people would love Minnesota, wouldn't they? I mean,
Minnesota.
most Scandinavians were probably born in the snow,
Missouri.
is my
Oh my
understanding.
God.
So they're fine with it, and they drink copious amounts of coffee, and they're good. They're good. For the rest of us, this one's
Did
sort
he
of
just change
taking
his
the cake
coat?
a little bit, but I am glad it's on the list.
Am I going crazy? Did he just? Oh, it's the same coat. Oh, he just put the scarf on. He must be really cold. And because some part of the video, he didn't have his gloves on. Now he got gloves on, and he must be
The
really
very reason I was
cold.
glad Wisconsin's on the list, because it didn't quite enter the list of snowiest states in America, which is balmy, because it is a snowy state, just like Wisconsin. But its impressive climatic feature is just how bloody cold it is. And there are probably people watching at home going, oh, you're including wind chill in this. No, I'm not. These stats are actually before wind chill as well. Didn't mention that, did I? Minnesota's average low temperature, and again, this is just in the most populated cities, was 11.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That is -10 degrees C. Woefully horrendous. And that does not include Duluth or, other places up in the north of the state. I suspect northern Minnesotans turn into T-1000 after he falls in the liquid nitrogen. They walk out the house, freeze over, try and walk a bit, and then their legs just crumble.
Damn.
You'd literally have to take with you
I
one
heard
of those
somebody
outdoor
laughing
heaters that
in
you
the
find
back.
at train stations in Chicago just to survive. You might even have to press it against you. Don't do that. This isn't... I'm not giving advice to anybody that's going out in winter. Anyway, after getting a brain freeze just now, I'm going to go back to the facts. And the facts are that the lowest recorded temperature in Minnesota ever was -60 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, that's -51 degrees Celsius. I mean, it surely doesn't get any colder than that. In the world, much less the United States, it does. I've never experienced a North Dakota winter, and looking at some of the facts, I probably never will. Once again, North Dakota is a very, very snowy state. Don't get me wrong, it just didn't make the list of snowiest states in the United States.
Do y'all see his jacket? That North Face is a great brand. If you're one of those people who get really cold, or you're in the coldest state, or coldest country, whatever, get you a North Face coat. That coat will definitely keep you warm.
But it certainly makes this list.
He should have talked about that.
Second coldest pound for pound state in the nation. Now, granted, I did build it up to suggest that it absolutely demolished the record of Minnesota, but in fact, they're tied. -60 degrees Fahrenheit is also the record for North Dakota, but where it does beat Minnesota and every other entry on this list, including our final entry, its top 5 most populated cities averaged a low temperature of 8.3 degrees Fahrenheit. That's an average low. So let's put that into context now that we've delved deep into the snow, into the list. Words don't mean anything anymore. 8.3 degrees Fahrenheit is 24 degrees colder than Scotland's average. Scotland being the coldest country in the United Kingdom. And these are averages. This is mental. Someone needs to check North Dakota just to see if microbes are still thriving. So if you know anybody that lives in North Dakota,
I don't know nobody.
Call for help. I do have it penciled in, though, to visit
Call for
there
help. I don't know nobody out there.
Probably in the middle of a summer. I'd be very interested to know if the entire state by then is just one big pool of water. So, good summer swim. Bring my shorts. Sounds good. And as the temperature continues to drop throughout, so does our next entry. Our next entry is about to drop, is what I meant.
Alaska,
it probably
of course.
comes as no surprise that Alaska made it to number 1. It probably does come as a surprise that I'm dressed like a bounty hunter. Just bear with me on this, and we will get through it.
I'm not gonna lie. I was waiting for him to say Alaska, and it just popped up. Because Alaska, come on, hello, duh.
Alaska is bloody cold, but of course it is. It's much more northern than the rest of the United States. It's also more western and eastern, fun fact. But all that aside, if you take some of its most populous cities, so Anchorage, Fairbanks, Juneau and the like, take the average of their lowest winter temperatures, you get a whopping 14.5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's actually not as high as I expected. And that's because a lot of their most populated cities are very much in the southern portion of Alaska. And Alaska is a huge state. So this now,
very
I'm
huge.
starting to see why using popular cities is bad for data. And I shouldn't have done that. It specifically doesn't work for Alaska just because of its sheer size and the fact that in the northern portion, it gets just astronomically cold. So chances are, if you are going to move to Alaska, it probably will be one of the big cities, and you'll probably be fine, unless that city is Fairbanks, which, and I had to reread this a few times. Its average low temperature in that same exact time wasn't just below zero on the Celsius scale. It was minus 11.25 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm never going to Fairbanks, Alaska. Alaska's cold, and not only is it top of the pile when we're talking about average low temperatures during winter, but its coldest ever temperature would make Mr. Freeze cry horrible frozen tears, and he was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. The coldest temperature recorded in the state of Alaska, and indeed the United States of America, was more like something you'd see on Pluto. It was minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 62 degrees Celsius.
God.
I overdid it for this video. I overdressed for the comedy factor. But the truth is, I'd probably die in that temperature if I went out in just this for, an hour. That could be an exaggeration. I've got nothing to check it against because I've never known. No one's known temperatures like that except maybe 4 people.
I know it get cold, but
if you're watching, let me. It's very unlikely. That's it for this episode. A bonus mention for South Dakota.
That is, oh my God. I'm one of those people who I don't like being cold. I've mentioned this so many times in my videos. I don't like being cold. I don't. So anyway, how you like about this video? Comment below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you later.